Greetings, Legion, and welcome to my recap of Fortress 2025. No full episode this week, as I mentioned on the podcast last week, but I couldn't leave you guys high and dry on a Tuesday. So I'm going to talk you through my highlights of the weekend, some of my favorite bands, some of the things that I saw, and just kind of give you a sense of what the occasion was like, just in case you weren't there. If nothing else, it'll serve to make you very jealous, because I'm telling you right now, I am still struggling to process everything that I saw, everything that I experienced this weekend. This is my second weekend being at Fortress Festival. Easily the best of the two iterations. I mean, last year was great, but this year was such a step up. And I would go as far as to say probably my favorite experience as far as festivals are concerned, period. There was just a vibe and a energy, a positivity in the air, which is odd to say when it comes to black metal or a festival focused on black metal, but there was a positivity in the air that was just absolutely awesome. It felt like a homecoming. And interestingly, I spoke to a lot of different people, people that don't know each other whatsoever, and asked them what their experiences were of the festival over the weekend, and they all said the same thing too. So an absolutely sensational time was had by all. Even, and I quote the words of Scott Bamford, a long-serving member of the Legion, my long-suffering wife had a great time as well. So that tells you something, and she doesn't listen to this music whatsoever, as you know. Now, let's start with the music first and foremost, because that's why we were all there. Unfortunately, and I'm going to say this right at the start in case you're wondering why I'm not reviewing every single band, I didn't get to see every single band because I was doing various interviews. I had two panels that I did on the Sunday as part of the Fortress Forum. You also want to catch up with people that you haven't seen in a while, maybe go grab some food, do a bit of this and a bit of that. But let me talk you through very quickly my highlights. On day one, the Great Old Ones stormed the stage at around 5 o'clock. I had actually interviewed Ben from the Great Old Ones about 2 hours before. That episode will drop at some point in the next couple of weeks. We had an interesting conversation about his views on frontmen, and knowing, I shan't reveal who his favorite frontman is. You can watch the episode if you want to know that. But when he said who his favorite is, seeing them on stage, it all absolutely made sense. There was an energy and a fire in that dude that you rarely see in a lot of black metal bands, and I dare say a lot of black metal bands from France, where he was on stage just ready to fucking tear shit up, and he most certainly did so. They played 5 tracks, were absolutely on fire from start to finish. Everyone in the band were just really, really playing to the peak of their powers. I mentioned before that I think that their most recent record has been a fantastic comeback. This to me, or this show that they performed, it just emphasized that. I feel like the Great Old Ones are a band on the rise, and if nothing else, Fortress absolutely underlined that. Next up, we had Selbst. Now, unfortunately, Selbst were up against it. I found out after the set that they played that N, their frontman, was feeling a bit under the weather. I don't know whether he had picked up something on the flight. I actually spoke to him as well on the Sunday, and he mentioned feeling a bit groggy, a bit worse for wear. They were a bit up against it. They played in the smaller Ocean Room. I will actually, by the way, post a walkthrough video of Fortress Festival probably in the next couple of days, one that I filmed. I'm not a professional fucking video editor, so by the way, don't be expecting something highbrow. I'm not Cal Freezy, but I did something that I thought would be quite cool, just so if you weren't there, you can kind of see what it's like. But anyway, getting back to Selbst, they played in the smaller Ocean Room. The Ocean Room was only about half full for them. The performance from the start felt very lethargic, and it didn't help that the sound was letting them down a little bit. Overall, I would say the sound generally across the weekend I thought was all right. I saw a couple of complaints on the Fortress Festival forum on Facebook. Maybe you could argue the drums were a little bit loud for some bands, but if you actually see the venue, it's kind of like an old-time concert hall. So I think the sound engineers did a fantastic job of taming the acoustics of that place, because I'm not sure when it was built. I mean, it's a beautiful venue and it's a beautiful building, but obviously, with age comes a certain quirkiness when it comes to echo, acoustics, etc. You can't expect studio sound in some of those rooms. Selps, unfortunately, I think probably drew the short straw when it came to sound. Didn't quite feel like things were clicking, but good on them for pushing through. I'm a big fan of Selps, as everybody who watches the podcast or listens to the podcast should know. And it was a shame for me to not see them, deliver a triumphant performance that I know that they've got in them. Straight after Selps, we went back to the main stage, to the bigger room for Ruim. Ruim kicked off their show with the song Coven in Charing Cross by the band Coven, which, if you know the song, it is the strangest, most quirky way to start a black metal performance. But for Ruim, especially once they got going, it was just absolutely perfect. And holy Jesus, were they good. They were bathed in red light for most of the show. Blasphemer came out wearing a cape. So there was definitely some pomp and pageantry at the start. The whole show, the whole performance had a feeling of it being a ritual. And I just fucking loved it. It was just, everything about the show was awesome. Blasphemer is a natural frontman, which, given if you know his background, playing guitar in Mayhem, Ultimass, or Noir, being in a bunch of other bands, he's not really played that role before, but he stepped into this and was just, he just took to it like a fucking duck to water. Absolutely fantastic. I wrote on my notes, my rating, 50 million out of 10. Genuinely one of the fucking best black metal performances I have ever seen in my entire life. He played all of my favorite songs, even brought Raven out from 1349 for a Mayhem cover near the end. Absolutely fucking brilliant. Got a great conversation recorded with Bruno as well. He was also feeling a little worse for wear the next day. I'm not sure what he was up to on the Saturday, but fortunately, and I know he cancelled a couple of other interviews, but fortunately he did mine, and I think this one absolutely knocks 2 lines of tar out of the previous one that we recorded. Now, after the high of Ruim, you go, how is anybody going to top that? We trudged off to the ocean room for Ecclese. When we walked in, they were busy getting ready. Thank God we fucking made it there in time, because that room was absolutely rammed. Like, scrotum to backside is about how we were standing. I know that after we went in, they started doing 1 in, 1 out because the place was just too full. And as soon as Ecclese took to the stage, holy fuck, did they destroy everything in their path. This was one of those shows where you got the sense that the band or that everybody was just waiting for the band to get started. And they took no prisoners. They wheeled out Ephialtes second in the set list, and I did say to Nas when I spoke to him later on, to me, Ephialtes is a track that you keep to the end. You need to make the audience want it. But even so, when they played it, my God, it is the perfect black metal track. I mean, it is their signature song as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's their Seek and Destroy, it's their Angel of Death. It is the song that must be on every single show that they played. It was a shame that they were in the ocean room, because I think they deserved the main stage, and they played like they should have been on the main stage. But, I know there were some logistical issues there, problems with their flights, whatnot. Regardless, they were fucking awesome. And considering the fact that they had actually flown from the States, landed, and had like 2 hours from the point that they arrived at the venue to going on stage, it was a tier 1 top-notch performance. The night was capped off on the main stage by the almighty 1349. The last time I had seen 1349 perform live was supporting Gorgoroth in the 2000s somewhere, like 2006, 2007, and they were good. But my God, have they improved as a live act over the course of the last 15 years or so since I saw them play. Raven was performing like a man possessed from start to finish. Frost sounded absolutely sensational. There was just this malevolent energy about them, and the crowd responded as well. It's probably one of the only mosh pits I saw all weekend. They actually did have a little bit of an issue around the third song, when I think the triggers on Frost's drum kit failed and they had to be replaced. But honestly, they handled that like pros, and the incident just seemed to piss them off so much that they came out guns blazing, for the rest of the show. So deserving headliners for day one. They were absolutely awesome, and if you haven't seen them live, catch them on any of the dates that they're on right now, because you absolutely will not regret it. Moving on to day two. We started off with what was, in my view, a band that could very easily have headlined Abduction. Now, we all know I'm a big fan of Abduction and have been for some time now. AV has been on the podcast, on several occasions, will be on the podcast for several occasions more. It was such an incredible joy for me to see them perform a set that, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, truly could have headlined, and they wouldn't have stood back for anybody that was there. AV, you could see, was just throwing himself into every single track, every single vocal line that he was spitting out. The rest of the band just looked and played sensationally well. They had these visuals up behind them. They just suited everything. And I think for me, one of the enduring images of the entire weekend was them playing Razors of Occam with the music video sequence, or at least they took the sequences out that had AV's grandmother in. And obviously, if you checked out the episode where AV was on the podcast, he spoke about the very personal story around Razors of Occam. There was this image that I have in my mind of him kind of throwing his hands up in the air and just looking like an absolute fucking conqueror with his grandmother in the background, and knowing how personal that was to him, and how incredibly special that moment would have felt for him. Touched the cockles of my heart. So phenomenal performance. One thing I should also mention about Abduction is AV's clean singing sounded just astonishing. The fact that he could replicate it that well on stage blew my mind. I did quiz him when I spoke to him later on and said, is there some trickery going on there? But he confirmed that it wasn't. And you could hear some changes, some shifts in the tone from the album. Frankly, I think he sounds even better on stage than he does on record. So yeah. Absolutely fucking brilliant. Later on in the day, I caught a little bit of Dotzerit. I also caught a bit of Fortress. Ulcerate. Oh my God. I mean, if my fucking backside hadn't been handed to me already by the bands that I've already mentioned, when those dudes came on, I mean, they sounded immaculate. They also had the visual thing going on, a little different to Abduction in that it was a lot darker. They were kind of just, they sort of had this very dark lighting aesthetic for the entire show. Like, you'll see, if you see the clip that if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see from the clips that I posted, the whole show just felt really dark and oppressive and intense. Jamie, their drummer, my God, I mean, I had been so excited about getting to see him play live, to actually hear it. I mean, he's inhuman. The level of precision, the dexterity, it is mind blowing. I was speechless. They played a great many of my favorite tracks, including "The Dawn Is Hollow." I think it was the one band that non-metal page even could say, like, those guys are fucking incredible. So you absolutely understand, if you see them live, why they have earned such a formidable reputation, and why they've broken out of the confines of New Zealand. I mean, we talk about that a lot on the show. It is incredibly difficult for bands, based in Australia, based in New Zealand, because of the distance, to kind of build that international reputation. And Ulcerate have done that, and will continue to grow, as far as I'm concerned. Was going to get an interview with Jamie, but unfortunately that didn't happen. I did get to speak to him, though. Brilliant dude. And he knows that he's got an open invite on Into the Necrosphere any day of the week and twice on Sundays. A couple of other things that happened Sunday. I did a fantastic interview with Frank Allen of Fen and Fell Warden. And then after that, we had Agalok being interviewed by Dial from Cult Never Dies. And then I did a conversation with the almighty, the old fucking great and powerful Necros Horns, my good friend who's been on the podcast before. I said it to be nice at the time that he's one of the best photographers in the industry or in the scene. I will just state equivocally right now, since this is my podcast, and I can say whatever the fuck I want. He is the best photographer, bar none. There is no photographer working in the scene today who comes within sniffing distance of his jockstrap on their best day. And there are a lot of very talented photographers. I'm not slating anybody. The man is just fucking incredible. And it's so inspiring talking to him. He's just somebody that fucking psychs you up every time that you speak to him. So, that conversation, the one with Frank, will be coming as well. Those were the four that I got in the can. So I've got some decent content from the festival. I also did a walkthrough video, as I said. I'll share that at some point later this week. Some good stuff and some good memories to take away. Other commentary just around the festival. Very well organized. All the bands started absolutely fucking spot on time. The staff this year were really on top of their game. We arrived early on the Sunday morning so that I could interview Runa. And the whole place was fucking spotless. I mean, you could lick the floor of the main stage. It was that clean. And quite honestly, if that were a show, I said to Paige, if that were a show held in London, no chance would you be getting that. So kudos to them. I thought the security this year was great. Maybe a little overzealous from time to time, but, I guess you'd probably rather have that than, some fucking jerk-off that stands on the side looking at his phone instead of paying attention to the crowd. Really, my only minor complaint, and this was a complaint shared by people on the forums as well, it was just hot as fuck inside that place. But, that's not the organizer's fault. It's just a byproduct of the venue, and on top of that, this isn't fucking Coachella. So if you were too hot, you could go stand outside. The environment, the aesthetic that you're in is stunning, and I think the fact that you're in the one building for the entirety of the event absolutely means that it creates a different feeling. I touched on it earlier. It has a real sense of community, unlike any festival that I've experienced before, whether it's Incineration. I would say even more so than Inferno. And I loved Inferno. You guys know I was raving about that for months. But this is just something really special. And kudos to Gary and the rest of the guys at Reaper Agency, because they have really created something very special. And I think this year for me, without question, it underlined the fact that we now truly have our own English equivalent to Inferno, to Beyond the Gates, to all the big black metal festivals. They announced, of course, that Old Man's Child was going to be one of the headliners in 2026. Already a fucking huge and exciting announcement for next year. Man, all I will say in summation, I don't want to ramble on too long, but if you can make it to the UK, if you're living outside of the UK, if you can make it to the UK for the 2026 iteration, do yourself a favor. It is an experience you will never forget. I am definitely going to be there again next year. I had a fucking blast. If I had to give this a rating out of 10, I'd give it a rating of 17. As I wrap this up, I just want to say a massive thank you to Dominic at 3 Nation PR, a consummate gentleman and an absolute pro. Always great seeing him. Also want to say massive thank you to Gary at Reaper Agency for having Paige and I there this year again. Gary has pulled together a truly special event, and he and everybody involved should feel extremely proud of what they've been able to achieve. And I'm just really pleased and privileged that I get to be a part of it. Also, massive thank you to every single member of the Legion that came up to me to say hello. Loads of you this year, and I was so humbled by it. It just left me floored. So Always great talking to you. Always great seeing you guys. For those of you that came to support the Fortress Forum talks, really appreciated that as well. Also, massively appreciate every single person from a band that sat down with me and chopped it up for an hour or so. Of course, you guys are going to be benefiting from that. I'll be posting those episodes in the coming weeks and days. I will also be probably switching to twice a week for a period of time, because I've got about 8 interviews in the can now, and I don't want them to sit there gathering dust. So prepare yourself for a couple of Friday surprises coming your way very soon. For right now, though, my friends, whatever it is that you do, or whatever it is that you're doing, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you bad motherfuckers again when I see you.